where we left off. Aquaman. Oh, she's on her cell phone. Aquaman is a beta. Like a beta fish. You know how they always fight the same sex beta fish always fight each other. They're very competitive. So Aquaman is a beta. That felt good. Green Lantern, who is Hal, what's his name? Hal something. He's the airline pilot. Beta. You know what? DC Comics is just way more beta. I mean, don't get me wrong. You do have Rorschach, who has like, he's kind of like a detective, so he's kind of like, you know, like a Sigma male, you could say. And then you got well, there's so many lanterns. There's like Yellow Lantern, who's just easily a beta. Then there's like the Red Lantern, who's like a gamma male. You got, well, like Sinestro's like a gamma male too. And then you have like, I guess you have a lot of kind of like alphas that have fallen, or Swamp Thing. I don't know too much of the backstory with Swamp Thing. Because I don't know if he was a human before, and then because if he was human before, he's pretty much, in all likelihood, he's probably a beta too. It's just how the stories were told. Every single character is made to be a beta. Like, they don't have a choice whether or not they can be in a relationship or not. They have to use their superpowers to provide for someone else. That's why, like, superpowers in general would just suck. Being a superhero would suck, because you're basically a beta to whatever province or municipality or city or metropolis, any place that you inhabit. If you're a superhero, they're going to be like, where's my beta powers, or beta bucks? You're going to be like their beta bucks, except instead of bucks, it's like my beta laser vision, or my beta super strength, or my beta super speed, like Flash. Flash is a beta. And, you know, all these betas, and like the villains in the DC universe are actually cool. Like, they actually have depth to them, sort of. But like, to be honestly, if you have any superpower on its own, you'll always just have use value for someone else, because they're like, oh, I need help moving, or oh, I need help teleporting. Can you teleport me over here? Oh, this, that, and the other. So, I mean, that's kind of, you know, I did kind of half-ass that one, that DC Comics thing, but just really, I basically summed it up, you know, because I didn't want to make this video super long. About that. Shazam is a kid. Shazam is a kid who turns into an adult. So he's pretty much a gamma male, because he's just like a little boy inside of a grown man's body. And another thing that I realized too, yeah, because I'm looking at the cast, and like, there's not really anybody else that I would really. Who's D? Is Daredevil DC or Marvel? Daredevil is Marvel, right? Who's this guy with it? He's like a white bald guy, or a white skinned bald guy with like a V collar, and he's got a D on his uniform. I don't know who that is. Leave a comment box. Let me know who is that guy. Who's that guy? And I'll post this picture as the thumbnail. But yeah, I mean, one thing that I realized that I think is just like pretty hilarious is that if someone were to like share if a man were to share his deepest deepest, darkest, fantasies and stuff online, it's like, how can I put this? How can I put this? How can I say this in the most straightforward way possible? Well, I guess just the easiest way to seek validation if you're a guy, I guess, is to just put out honest content online. No, that's actually not true. Now that I think about it, the easiest way to get validation online is to lie. But see, like, this is like a conundrum for me, because I don't really, in my experience, it's been more so that, like, honesty has gotten me a lot of validation. But what I notice with other content creators is the more they kind of like lie to their subscribers, the more subscribers they get. And I wonder why that is. If their videos get shared more because they're more controversial, or if they're just really good liars. And with me, I don't really try to persuade anybody to believe what I believe. I'm just very passionate. And I don't know if you can always find an argument behind passion, but for the most part, I think that when I get on here in some of the videos I've had where I like actually get personal, like, honesty does me pretty good. The only problem is that I realize this with a lot of people, that we almost like subconsciously lie when we're telling a story. I don't know if it's just restricted to like a medium such as like social media or something, but I think, well, storytelling in general, there's three main parts to it. There is sort of like, there's like an initial phase, an initiation phase, to where you kind of like, okay, who am I telling the story to? Who's my audience? How do I phrase this? How do I frame this story to make sense with, some overarching thing? Because that's the thing. People always suspend belief when they know they're being told a story. So they're willing to follow something as long as it takes for you to finish describing it. And then that's kind of why we have the movie industry complex that we have right now, because like if you look online right now, it's like there's after all the like blockbuster movies came out these past like 10 or so years, there's these channels that basically dissect every aspect of the movie after having already seen it. Like a movie critic is like never as loud and obnoxious in the theater, but as soon as he gets on the page, he's very quick to call someone out by name who's actually been in production, who's actually wasn't taking part of the production of the movie. Like I can think of CinemaSins as a good example of that. But nowadays it's more or less just the fact that people don't really care about having any sort of filter when it comes to what they express online. And if there is one, it's kind of like a deceptive filter and not a filter to actually give you more streamlined information. It's just a filter that's kind of put there to omit certain things just to make the content more interesting. And that's just a phenomena that I've observed in the content of today. And it's kind of it is what it is. It really is what it is. There's nothing special about it. It's just that when we get into exposing, it's kind of like we're hitting our redundancies. We're hitting our redundancy quota, where it's like you can only belabor an issue so much. You can only go over something that's been done hundreds and hundreds of times before, and it's just mind-blowing. And it's just crazy because this gives people who don't have a filter already kind of like a free pass. Like, I know it's gonna seem outdated, but Red Pill Dusty, he used to say that if I could quote him directly, I think it was something along the lines of niggas who ain't shit get on YouTube and they're the shit, whereas niggas who are the shit in real life get on YouTube and they sound like a lame, or they sound like a bum, a dusty nigga, basically. And if I could, I guess, dissect his analysis, I would have to say that it's true that people who invest heavily in the social hierarchy, they're not as aware of, I guess you could say, like, the nuances of communication that I guess are enhanced when when you say restrict the medium of communication to, say, a media site like YouTube. Like, obviously you can get audio and video the same way you could get it in real. You could get the same kind of certain stimuli that you could get in like a everyday conversation, or like at a merger or mixer or some business meeting, or a conference meeting, or some sort of thing where you have like quote unquote alpha presentations and a lot of people's eyes on you and things like that. Whereas with YouTube, it's kind of like, if you're passionate but you don't even have social skills, you could actually still make whatever content you want and you'll actually be really successful. And it's the reason why I feel like I make a conscious effort to make content is because I recognize this fact about how simplistic YouTube is in actual practice, but how like complicated it is to master, even with all experience in the real world. And I realize there's some transferable skills. Like, I guess, like, if you have any experience in production, YouTube is kind of like an amateurish undertaking for you. However, it would be the same. I guess it would be the same. It represents like a lower level of difficulty for people who have a lot of I guess social training, socialization, and that whole rant that I just had, it kind of reminds me of Jordan Peterson when he was presenting to a Scandinavian lecture hall where they were interviewing him. I think it was like some Scandinavian journalists and then some like social scientists or something, when he was talking about how the genders, when given absolute freedom, just go towards their natural tendencies. And he would say something along the lines of, and Jordan Peterson is a great example because he actually like shot up in popularity in YouTube during kind of like those MRA, MGTOW, and kind of red pill years, like from 2008-ish about until like 20, well, not that far back, but I mean, when he did blow up, which was in like 2000, I don't even know what it was, like 2013, or no, 2015, 2016, I would say probably is when he started posting videos, and he was basically like worshipped by a bunch of people on YouTube. I'm not trying to talk bad about them, but what I'm saying is like he had a lot of fame, as in like a lot of people respected the work that he did on YouTube, and he's not like some Hollywood socialite, some charismatic dude. In fact, it's funny to watch him talk to his younger students who are on campus when they're getting outraged and kind of getting triggered and ringing and stuff, because he doesn't necessarily command respect from people who have this, I guess, high-minded opinion of themselves. So he can't break past that narcissistic barrier any better than most of us can. However, the people that usually can are the people that have this kind of like, I don't know, you could say like a just this way of figuring people out through communication, through verbal communication. Like the kind of the nitpicking and like the kind of the henpecking that I think is like predominant in society. Like everywhere you go, every time somebody starts small talk with you, and you could just feel them trying to connect with you and manipulate you emotionally by asking you certain questions like, oh, are you like, what do you do for work? How do you like it? What's your goals in life? What is this? And they want more and more information out of you, almost kind of like they're entering a database or something like that. And it's sad. It's sad that we are not cognizant of this, but we do it all the time. And I think as a result, people have just lost all sense of what is true. And that's why liberals can say that conservative people who question the truth are actually, or who question the media are actually anti-truthers. Like they're just like crazy religious zealots. They're, because socially, everywhere they go, they're validated in their belief system, as opposed to, having a designated place to have that sort of enthusiasm, and then kind of gradually going down into the real world. They're almost sort of like an addict to the drama, and an addict to, I guess like what we could say we were discussing earlier would be like value poaching, and gleaning information, gleaning emotional value, gleaning attention from people who they, I guess, nonetheless envy and hate, and I guess fear. I guess they're very afraid of. People on the left are very afraid of what people on the right have to say. And so much so that they kind of crowd themselves into an echo chamber most of the time. And it's hard to get people who are leftists to sit at a table and discuss something, because they basically view you as a person who is going to like bring about the apocalypse, or bring about the end of the world, or should die, or if you die it's karma. I've heard women on the left who are leftists basically say, like, if you're chauvinistic, if you're masculine, if you don't apologize for male violence, then you pretty much deserve what's coming to you with this, like with COVID or with whatever. It's just they believe that the right, like the conservative party, has encouraged so much negative karma that just anything bad that happens to a person who is right-leaning is warranted. And I mean, that's the society we live in too. Unfortunately, anybody who does take responsibility no one ever feels bad for, because no one really cares about the struggles of men as it is. And no one should care, because as a man, it's your duty to figure out what you want, to figure out how you're going to do something through trial and error. And you can't make all your mistakes in private. And so, overall, how I would, I guess, contextualize this conversation with sort of my past, or the current trajectory of my videos on my channel. Overall, I would just say the bottom line for men, I guess, in the 21st century, is, I guess, just focus on positively building through obviously trial and error, but focus on building up your confidence from an internal source and from a place of absolute manifestation of your dreams and goals in this life. And of course, be cognizant of traps and things like that, of social isolation, and be wary of your own, I guess mental time that you spend brooding on the past and your mistakes, because you can really I do agree in certain respects that you can kind of go mad with over philosophizing, overthinking, if you're not applying it on a day-to-day basis. But don't ever let somebody tell you that you can't think about something for longer than it takes for them to understand your purpose. Like if you're just merely existing and someone's hurting you along and telling you not to think too deeply about something, I would say always question that, always be skeptical of that, because the moment you start going with emotions, and while not really having a lot of drive and ambition that comes from you personally, I think that's what leads people down a really dark place of depression. And like, that's what leads people to becoming depressed, because like they just don't feel like they have any agency in their own life. You know, it's just a fact. Like, even if you feel like doing nothing, you know, you should at least be able to feel like it was you who made that decision and not somebody else. And given the landscape, I guess, like I usually am always saying, it makes more sense if you just develop that stuff alone or on your own time, and try to keep, I guess, people who you're aware that are trying to get at your mental and like financial resources, just keep those people at bay, because those people don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Of course, they matter to themselves and to society, because that's how they grew up. But you cannot become offended by someone's need to coach you through every single action, and try to remove your agency, remove your individual thought. You can't get angry at that, because that kind of mentality is just going to hold you back in this life. So this was Baron Yam. Take care, all you monks and spunks. Oh, that was a Jaguar line. Shit. Yeah, go ahead and if you like this content, then make sure to share it, and then like this video, and God be with you, or as they say in German, Gott se. I don't even know it's in the game. It's in the game that I'm playing. I'll have to check it. I was just saying it earlier today, but now I forgot.